So I liked that this story was through the lens of somebody with schizophrenia, because I think often we see it through the viewpoint of the people around them, and this was really from Liz's point of view.
Kind of diving into mental illness and things like that definitely piqued my interest, and is something that I feel very strongly about.
As an actor, I did my own little research about schizophrenia and how to portray schizophrenia. It's more of just a whole mindset, and it's not really through actions or words. It's hallucinations and delusions that you have going on in your head, which is hard for an actor to portray. So that's really the main reason why I wanted to take on this role.
It was more of just seeing Trinity and Brian as a struggle, you know, father, daughter, and I saw Stephanie as this evil, so I needed this vixen. So it was more of just those ideas coming to me first. Then I knew if I could get Russell on board, you know, for just the ideas that were starting to just flow.
And the script was so eye-opening. You didn't see the twists and turns that come in this story. And it was a serious topic that I wanted to learn about and be educated about.
The main reason why I took on the story, I saw that there was a little girl that needed help. I saw that there was somebody that was in desperate need of help and didn't know exactly how to express that. I realized that this was going to be a really good opportunity to get closer to this monster that we call mental illness. You know, the best way to kind of defeat a monster or defeat an enemy is to learn it. Just like a team, you know, you kind of scout out the players, you scout out the game plan, and you try to get as close as you can to figure out what the opponent is, what is this enemy, what is this thing that is ravaging so many people, or that is just seems to be undefeated in some sort of way. You kind of just study it to the best of your ability from all different aspects, and for us, it was like a mental thing. And so for me, I wanted to just study that as much as I can so that I can propose maybe an idea or a way that we can come together as a unit and kind of take this thing out.
So we started, when I started putting the script together, I already knew right away that something would happen to her mom, so that would spiral her into this negative, upset, you know, teenager with a lot of emotions that a dad wouldn't know how to handle. And I wanted Stephanie's character to come in and kind of put a little bit of push and shove onto Trinity's character. So we decided to go ahead and meet with all of the main actors and just have a sit down and go through the whole storyline, what we had, and see how we wanted to kind of mold that ending. And from that, it just so happened that Stephanie, Brian, and Trinity had all experienced some form of mental illness, and we had been dealing with it at that time too. So it was almost like all of us together, just an epiphany, it's mental illness.
So from my perspective, My Soul to Keep, it's really about, I think, a father stepping into a role that he's not really familiar with and thinking that he's doing a good job, when in reality he's not seeing what his daughter is really going through. You know, and it's not that he's a bad dad or anything like that, it's just he's not paying enough attention to that. So I think once people bring to light what's actually happening, I think he kind of takes a step back and realizes what needs to happen from there.
For me, I didn't deal with schizophrenia, but I struggled with mental health from a very early age, and I think looking back now, I know that was really hard for my parents to kind of navigate through. And so seeing Brett, you know, come to terms with the fact that his daughter might be experiencing something that he has no clue how to deal with, I think was really important to show that.
I think My Soul to Keep, in my perspective, is about perspective. How people grieve, how people deal with, you know, pain. I think everybody deals with it in certain instances. Sometimes it comes as a shock. Sometimes it's like it never even happened. And, you know, they don't realize it until something does, you know, wake them up out of that kind of trance of, oh, I don't believe that this happened. You know, there's nothing wrong with me. There's nothing, you know. So they cope in different ways until, you know, it comes to a threshold and it just blows up. That's what My Soul to Keep is about dealing with, you know, pain and how people deal with pain, and how also to get help for somebody who deals with, you know, different pain or doesn't even realize it.
Rolling. Scene 10, Alpha, take 2.
Play on set.
How was school?
Fine.
Did you learn anything new?
Lots. Yeah, so usually the other characters that I usually play are either I play really emotional or I play really sassy. This role was like on the other side. It's completely different. So something that was really striking about Liz to me was that, I mean, she honestly just really cared for her family and she just wanted a good, happy family life. But of course, you know, life really like tanks in and her mom dies and she just doesn't really know what to do about it. And you can see that through her drawings as well. She started off, she wasn't always upset. She was actually a happy kid, I feel like. I feel like she was really happy like with her mom and her dad. But then her mom dies and takes a really big hit on her. And she starts off with these really good drawings and she keeps going into like the more dark stuff because she realizes the truths about life and what's really happening and just how horrible it all is, and that all she really wants is just a family and some friends and just a really good life, maybe with like her volleyball and just everything that she wants to do. But you know, all the stuff comes in and it just kind of wrecks her.
I wanted to present something that like we can all kind of see. Just take one scene from a book. There's like many books. Mental illness has been an author for a very, very long time. We didn't even know that it was just even called mental illness, but it's always existed. I basically wanted to show one scenario of many. So my soul to keep is just one way that mental illness can creep in and ravage and take a hold and do what it does.
What stood out most about my character was I think that when it comes to mental illness, in really any shape or form, besides what you see in the film, I think it's easy to overlook that. And as a parent, to kind of move and think that everything is okay, especially if they're not talking to you about it.
I related to Alexis and incorporates the "it takes a village" concept. I think we are seeing a family that's navigating through grief, something that's brand new to them, and it's too much to ask somebody, I think, to go through that on their own. And I think the more that we see visual representations of people reaching out, it might help other people reach out. You know, you might see something that you recognize in people in your own life, and it can be a scary thing to reach out to somebody and say, hey, I think your child might be experiencing something that is pretty dark, and if there's anything I can do to help. You know, I think understanding that so many more people deal with stuff like this than we actually know, and for so many years and for so long it's been sort of a deep dark secret or something people didn't speak about.
What stood out to me most about Ray was his support for his friend in this time. We don't see a lot of those supportive relationships amongst men on film. And so I think that was very interesting for Ray to show. So
I think when Ray comes to Alexis, at first, it is because he is a coach at a school and has witnessed this firsthand. And it's out of her element to make a house call, but his conviction's very real when it comes to Liz's well-being. And I think she takes him at his word and knows how important this is to him and sort of goes out of her way to check on this family. And lo and behold, Ray was spot on.
What stood out for me about Brian, he was able to create a relationship with Trinity that felt very much like a dad. I wanted to give him a hug kind of through the screen because I could feel that he was hurting so badly and just did not know what to do. He was so deflated. I could feel that. And it was one of those where he knew that he should be there for his daughter, but it took someone like Ray, a friend, who was like, dude, you know, you as a best friend, I need you to step up and see what's happening to Liz. Like, I'm seeing it, but I know you can't.
You know, these things that we see in the film, you know, that it's not an actual thing that occurs, but she's having these thoughts, she's having these desires, and she's having these wants. You know, some kids actually may go throughout with their thoughts. You know, we have school shootings and we have school stabbings. We have kids just, you know, being very, very like disrespectful and maybe mean to other peers. And I feel like all of that stems from not having enough love, whether that be in the household, whether that be just in life, period. And I think the only way we can accurately get rid of this thing that is just pure hatred is by feeding it the very, very opposite, which is love. We see Ray, who is not even the father of Liz. He holds himself to a certain degree. He's accountable for going to his best friend and saying, hey, I'm noticing something. And that's not very easy to do. But he does that. That's a loving thing to do.
Brett, I'm not saying that she's crazy. I'm not. I'm just saying that I've seen these signs before, my father.
To be able to tell you something so sensitive and to be that honest with you, because in life you do that, and then sometimes you lose people if they don't like the truth that's that's said, or they might just disagree with you and move on with their day. But I think that moment down with Ray kind of solidifies our friendship and then lets me know that there's a real problem.
A memorable experience in the film was actually seeing Trinity get into costume. Seeing her actually get into her character was different because I've never seen her play such a dark role before.
Definitely the favorite scene that I'm in My Soul to Keep was where Liz had an episode. She was seeing a bunch of hallucinations, and it did really take a toll on, or like a hit on me, because it was really hard to get into. And that one I was preparing 2 hours or 3 hours before the scene even came up.
Luckily, this is one of the final scenes that we were doing of the short film. So after we had filmed the entire short film, I kind of understood where the story was going. I was able to then get to a point where I was able to go to Trinity and say, hey, this is what I'm thinking. I'm thinking this is the best way to show what's going on with Liz's character. And it was very, very challenging because I knew that I was taking her to a place that she had to do organically.
Watching that setup, I knew where Trinity had to go. I knew she had to let go. And Russell had really been prepping her and talking to her, not just that day, the day before, the day we knew this scene was coming. And he was like, I know you have it in you. So he goes back out, can't really hear what he's saying, and he's just da-da-da in her ear, and he's like crawling at her and like doing, and I found out later he was like, one of the hallucinations, just like, see this, and then he left, came back in, did it again. He goes, I know I can get more. And so he went back out one more time, and it makes me want to cry. It was an emotional moment, but you gotta pause for a second. He went back out, talked to her one more time, and he left. We just watched.
Action.
And she did it, she went for it.
Stop!
And Trinity went for it, and she just let go. I mean, as an actor, that's what you want them to do, right? Just let go, and I was so proud of her, but she just let go. So much so that I guess John A was crying, and Russell ran out and he said cut, but she wasn't cutting. She was just so in the moment, and he had to give her a hug.
This is one of those moments as an actor where you can't just act it. It was one of those moments where I knew I was gonna have to take her there, but I never told her that I was gonna do that. I would hint to her throughout the film, hey, walk over there and kind of get to yourself. Don't let them make you laugh. I know everything is fun right now, but try to get over there. I would say small things like that throughout the film because on that day I knew that I needed her to get to a place.
Russell is an actor's director. He's everything an actor wants. The listening is beyond anything I've ever been a part of because it was so imperative. He listens to every single thing every actor says, and when you're in hands like that, you feel very safe. So
I think the scene that really was probably my most, difficult, but it definitely pushed some boundaries of what I've done is the scene where I'm on the balcony and I kind of have my own little breakdown away from my daughter. Those are pretty intense scenes, and they require a real weird headspace to get into, right? And I think part of it speaks to Russ and the crew and the other actors on set of I think there were 20 people on set, right? And so Russ cleared out, the balcony. He cleared everybody out. Everybody was inside. I think the easiest way that I was able to pull out of it afterwards, right, is we do the scene. Russ comes out, and you can tell that he's immediately excited. So I'm excited now, but I'm still, in a weird, half teary-eyed, trying to wipe and be like, this is good, right? And then the better part was when Mark came up, is I threw a glass, and he said, just make sure you clear the pool, which was right below me. I was like, I played baseball, I'll clear it. And then I thought, man, I hope my arm still holds up to this. So after that scene, Mark comes up and goes, dude, you threw it, like, you cleared all the trees, everything, you're good. So that immediately lightened the mood back up, and I think that was the most I laughed after that.
I think one of the most impactful experiences that I had on this project was just seeing how hard my crew worked. You know, we're young, my crew was young, you know, some were students, some were professionals, they've been doing this for a while, but we were all majority for the most part, we were young. It was just dope to see them go so hard for this story. I've thought that it was an important story. I felt that it was an important story to tell, and the fact that I was able to see my crew members go to certain lengths, how hard they were moving. I remember specifically, we had to set up this dolly for the dinner table scene to get this dolly shot. And they literally set the dolly up in like 3-5 minutes. It was kind of crazy. I never really seen somebody set up a dolly that fast before, but just the intensity that they moved, nobody felt nobody felt negative, nobody felt bad on set. And so that just made me feel good as a visionary as well, knowing that my space, especially us creating this dark environment, this not so pleasant area of storytelling, but to know that there was still a lot of light within the set and that it was still vibrant, it was still bright, even though we were shooting something that was fairly dark.
The water first I sleep. Let's see if he notices me. I'm so dead.
We all had such a good connection. It was so hard. It was so hard to hate towards Stephanie because she's such a sweet person, such a nice soul, and I just wanted to hug her.
So I think everybody on set had such a clear sense of the story and the story that we wanted to tell, and so it was just exciting. Each day was so much fun when you're working with people who are on the same page as you and have the same goal at the end of the day when it comes to the story. So it was just easy to lean on anybody here. I mean, truly, it was just kind of like a family pretty early on.
That chemistry that we had back and forth, it was a long monologue for me, but it was him that really made the scene because he gave me the misunderstanding that I needed, because I needed to explain something to him. So I think those moments there where we really capitalized on the film.
Each actor came to set not only prepared but ready to give everything that they could give. They said not only yes, but then they were like, I've always wanted to play a character like this. And there was always a give and take. All the actors just really worked off of each other and wanted their scenes to be elevated by each other.
So what I want for people to take away from the film is really what I said about the kind of Brett's story, right? Things happen, you sweep them under the rug, and you kind of go blindly through life in some areas. I think at the end of this, to see that somebody who has to break that gap and help his daughter and confront something that I'm sure no parent wants to take on, I think having the courage to do that is pretty incredible.
I know that I can heal, so I know that everybody else is absolutely able to heal, and there's not just a pill. It takes, I think it takes a community. I think it takes people understanding, but also that once you get to a certain age, it's completely up to you to heal, you know? It's nobody else's job but yours.
Well, definitely what I want people to take away from this film is that I really want them to, if they are struggling with something or they are dealing with something, then please, please reach out, because it really helped me, and I bet that anyone that you ask that has been struggling with mental illness will say that telling someone about it and doing something about it and facing it head on will help. There's definitely a large strength with dealing and facing your emotions and your struggles head on, other than hiding away from them, because if you're kind of hiding and you're really scared to say something about it, then nothing's gonna fix. There's nothing, you can't fix anything. You can't fix it by yourself. Sometimes you need other people's help.
Definitely check on your people, you know, because you never know. You never know what somebody's going through. And don't just chalk it up to, oh, that's them being them, or, you know, that's just them being emotional. If you feel like there's something wrong, actually reach out to them and ask them, hey, are you okay? How you doing? Pull them to the side if need be, you know, so it's not so out in the open, you know, but it's a more intimate conversation.
We live in a world where it's so me-centric. How do I get to the next? How do I do this? There's so much pressure to do good. There's so much pressure to look a certain way. There's so much pressure to feel a certain way. So much pressure to take care of the people around you, to do things. And as an individual, sometimes we rarely stop and think about just what's really going on inside of us, because we're on this constant automatic train of just go, 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 go. Because you're thinking about what you got to do the next day, or how many things that you got to do right after this, and you're not actually being in that moment. You can miss something that somebody may need you in. Somebody may need you. And if you're constantly moving forward and always thinking about the next thing they have to do, you may miss that person's need. So that's something that I definitely want people to understand and kind of take away from this, is that let's try to focus on each other. And I think that's going to be a really great way that we can bring a lot more light and love to a world that's already had enough, plenty of, darkness.